We talk a bit on the podcast about a day or a time in your life which sort of changed it up to the point where you took a different path. I mean, do you see that as sort of meeting Ben? Do you see that as the bit for you where you said, that's, you know, I'm now going off on a different trajectory here?
Yeah, I think for me, I met Ben, but I think the pivotal moment in our relationship was we'd only been together a few months, and it was just in the run up to Christmas, and I lost my voice. And obviously, as a broadcaster, that's not good news.
That's a bad thing.
And I remember, I remember going to the GP and her saying, "Oh, we think you've got laryngitis." And I just remember thinking, I think it's more than that. Anyway, I ended up going for a second opinion, and I had a paralysed vocal cord. Like, just one of those weird things, when you get a virus, it can affect your body in different ways. And this sneaky virus had decided to paralyse one of my vocal cords. And when I say I'd lost my voice, I literally lost my voice. Could not speak. I was, operating with a pen and pad, couldn't work. And again, that's really frightening, because you just think, is my voice going to come back? Is it going to sound the same? I couldn't day to day talk. And Ben was just brilliant. Like I said, we'd been together 4 or 5 months, and he was like, "I've got this. Like, I've got you. I've got this. We're going to look after you." He scooped me up. I went for an operation. There was a long recovery time over Christmas and New Year. And I think all in all, it took about 5-6 months. Luckily, I had an injection in my vocal cord that got it started again. And fortunately, it just naturally came back after that injection wore off. I don't know the medical terminology for it, but it was during that period I was like, he is the one. Like he literally swept in and took care of me. I knew he was the one before that, but it just locked us solid. It was, he doesn't care about anything else. He just cares that I'm okay. And if I'm not okay, it's his job to look after me or to help me get whatever I need. I think that was a real turning point for me. And I just saw the value of being a team with someone. And it was just us two at the time and his son, Teddy. We became this close little threesome. And then Ray came along, and now we're a really tight four. We tell each other, oh, it's going to sound really sickly, but we tell each other we love each other every day. We're really there for each other. We give each other, high fives, go have a great day. We're one of those sickening families. But I just think being part of a team is so important. And that's what that taught me. Your career can be gone like that. We all know that, especially in broadcasting, it can be over. And just having a team on your side, who just say everything's going to be okay as long as we've got each other, as long as we've got our health, everything's okay. So I think that was my turning point. And that's when I started not getting serious about my career, but thinking, right, what do I want it to look like to fit in with what else I want? How do I shape this so I can make it the best for me and my family, not just work, and say yes to everything? So I think that was a pivotal point for me.
And you and I have probably always had to face that question about ambition and sort of why, girls and guys get it regularly. Guys, ambition is a word that's always positive, linked to men, but when it's linked to women, it's a little negative in connotation. I mean, what is your feeling about that, SJ? And also moving forward, is there a big ambition beyond where you're at? Because you've done such a great job to get to where you are, and now you've got this work-life balance going on. Will it be enough to sustain you? Will it hold? Is that going to hold, or do you want more?
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because ambition, I was always embarrassed about that word.
Me too.
If somebody said, "Oh, you're ambitious," you'd instantly feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because ambition was billed as sort of elbowing people out of the way, stepping on other people's shoulders, not in a good way, to get to where you're going. It was always billed, as you said, really differently for girls and women. I think I'm unusual in terms of I've never had a big goal. I knew that, I wanted to work in breakfast television, and I did that, tick. Loved that, and then obviously fell pregnant and it didn't work for my life at the time. But I've been really lucky with Sky in terms of the opportunities that they've given me you know, loads of different sports shows, cricket, football, you know, Saturday Night Football, Sky Sports News, Sky News Breakfast, you know, evening. Like I've done a lot. And so I don't think I've ever had one massive ambition, but I've been lucky that opportunities have come my way and I've just grabbed them and run with them. And often people say, this is another thing. Oh, what next? What do you want to do next? And sometimes I feel the pressure of that because I just think, what's wrong with what I'm doing now? Yeah. I remember getting the breakfast show, and to me, that was the biggest thing ever. You know, I'd worked with Eamon Holmes on that show. He decided to leave and they gave it to me. And it was massive. You know, I'm following Eamon Holmes, somebody who I count as a close friend now, but I grew up watching him. He's Mr. Breakfast Telly.
Yeah.
So that was massive. But I remember about 2 or 3 months in, actually, even in interviews I was doing around the show, the launch of the new show, what's next for you? And I just thought, what is just wrong with sitting in this for a bit, getting a bit comfy, enjoying what's going on around me? This mentality of what's next, what's next, what's next. I just need to enjoy what's going on and savor this moment, because what if this is as good as it gets? Nothing wrong with that. You know, so then I got an afternoon show and an evening. I'm doing lots of different things, but it's always that question, what next, what next? In fact, next time I get asked it, I might just go, there's nothing next, this might be it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Do you know what? Do you know what's
wrong with that?
No, do you know what's really interesting as well, though, is consistency? Because if you do something, I mean, any successful person will say this, right? If you do something for a period of time over and over and over and over and over again with the same team as well that you're working with, because you have to create those rapports, and that's important. Like, it's not just the person in front of the camera, right? There's a million people behind you doing what you're doing to make it all come together. So to build that team that makes something successful in the way that you have requires consistent performances, you know, and sometimes it'll be a good hour and sometimes it'll be a better hour, you know, the next week or whatever, but you're building constantly. And I think that gets really underplayed as well. Like the ability to just have time doing a thing. We see it in football the whole time, don't we, with managers that get kicked out after a season because they've been crap. But they just maybe possibly are trying to...
so brutal.
I know, but they're trying to build a thing, right? And the managers get made the scapegoats because it's an easy, you know, get them out. But actually, reality
Can you
is
imagine
probably...
if they had a human resources department in football for managers? It'd be much more difficult. Maybe they'd stick with one a little bit longer and see how it goes. Always amazes me how you can get sacked.
Yeah, but way back when Fergie and Wenger were in charge of Man United and Arsenal, you know, they had strange periods of time where it didn't always go according to plan, but in this day and age they'd be out the door, right? It's crazy.
It's
like that consistency piece. Yeah, so I think there's something in that, isn't there? There's something in being allowed to do a thing over and over again, like Malcolm Gladwell said in Outliers.
They're me and Malcolm Gladwell. There is, in terms of the show I do now, the UK Tonight, 8 till 9, Sky News, Monday to Thursday. You can also see it on the webpage. We have got a great team, and the beauty of being at Sky News for so long is I know so many of the producers, so many people who are now working on different things. Our paths have all crossed at various points or another. So it's lovely. The team I've got on the UK Tonight are people I've worked with before and really, really respect. They're brilliant. So I feel like it's almost like Avengers Assemble. I feel like I've got my favourite people from across my time at Sky News working on my show. And it is an hour. And, you know, I'm used to doing anywhere between 3 and 6 hours on air. And if something goes wrong, you're like, oh, it's really annoying. But I've got another 4 hours ahead in front of me. So I'll just make sure that we're all brilliant for that. But with an hour of TV, if something goes wrong, you really feel it. Because you come to the end of the hour and you go, oh, gosh, got to get it done again tomorrow. Not that anything's gone wrong yet, but we're sort of realising how precious an hour of TV is. It's not that much time at all. And when you're trying to tell so many stories, because on our show it's UK focused, and we're really, really conscious of showcasing the brilliant stuff that's going on in the UK as well, not just all the awful stuff of which, you know, you can all use your imagination as to what that is. We talk about it day in, day out. But an hour is not a lot of time, so we're really packing it in. We're using the phrase quality rather than quantity on our show, but it's really important to have that team and do it day in, day out and figure out what works. And what viewers want to see. We're only about a month in, and I feel like we're getting into our rhythm, and it's really interesting to see what works and what doesn't. But yeah, it is that repetition. It's that repetition that really, really hones that hour of TV.
And I know you said you don't like to get anything wrong, but failure teaches you so much more than success. Is there something in particular that you think, bugger, I really stuffed that up, but actually it's given me an awful lot of knowledge for what I now need to do moving forward?
I went for, ages and ages ago, I went for a job interview to get a gig, and I did that classic, what's that phrase? Fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Yeah.
And I think, I prepare all day. Like, when you're going on TV, you've got interviews, different subject matters. So it's constantly like cramming for an exam. So I know how to prepare. But I think with this job, I think I self-sabotaged. I think I sort of set myself up for failure a little bit. And I don't know why that was. I still haven't gotten to the bottom of it.
In what way?
I just wasn't prepared for what they were going to ask me. And I remember sitting in that interview going, I either don't want this gig and I've self-sabotaged, or I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it. It's really weird. But I didn't get that job, understandably. And I could have done. I could have got that job, because if I'd have prepared, I'd have got it. I don't know. And I think that was a real moment for me where I thought, actually, I failed at that. I'm not brilliant at everything. And I think it just taught me a lot about my psyche in terms of I probably didn't want that enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think I've been in that situation before as well with a job in TV, when I turned up and I did exactly the same thing. I just totally winged it.
Isn't it weird?
Sometimes winging it can work itself out, but most of the time it doesn't. And I think, like you say, the diligence in being a journalist is that you do your preparation. And if you don't do your preparation...
And I still can't understand why I did that. I really don't know. I've discussed it since, and it's just, I feel like it was self-sabotage, but it was good for me. It was actually good for me to fail at something, I think. Not that, oh God, I'm brilliant, I do well at everything, but that was probably the first thing in my career that I haven't got. I don't know, it was definitely self-sabotage.
But do you regret
yeah,
not getting...
it was just really interesting.
Do you regret not getting the gig?
No, not at all. No, which is why I think it was self-sabotage. At the time, I was like, this would be a really interesting opportunity. I could do this. And yeah, I just didn't prepare enough. But in terms of failure, I think, I don't think I've made many failures on air. Like, there are silly mistakes that happen. That's the nature of live TV. And you do beat yourself up about that. That it might be a tiny thing you got wrong, but you just think... it's the nature of the beast, right? Live TV, you can't get everything spot on. And I'm not talking about factual errors, but I'm just talking about, not asking a question as well as you wanted to. Because live TV, people go, you're going to interview this person. Okay, when? Next. And you haven't prepped for that. So the adrenaline rushes and you have to think on your feet. I mean, you've been there, Georgie. Gosh, it's the brilliance of the job, but also the beast of the job. And you'll get to the end of it and you'll just think, if only I'd have had 5 more minutes headspace, I would have asked that question better. I'd have followed up on that. That's just the nature of live TV. You can't get everything spot on. But what I do fail at is pre-recorded TV.
Yeah, me too. I used to be terrible. Yeah, I used to be terrible at pre-recorded.
I just can't do it.
I think it's because the pressure isn't there.
Yeah, so it's almost like you can get it wrong and there'll be another take. Like if ever when I do get it right, all the crew look at me as if to go, should we do it again? Why don't we try it this way? It's like, I just did it. It was fine. I do live TV. I've just done it in one take. And they're like, oh no, because they're so used to many takes. But I mean, I don't often get it in one take. I think I have too much time to think about it and then I trip myself up. Whereas live TV, you've just got to get it right first time.
One of the things we love about live TV, probably you and I together, and anyone that does it, is this unpredictability of it, the unpredictable nature. I mean, it's one of the things I love about sport, is this thing where it just keeps throwing up the unpredictable. Like whenever you think it's not going to happen, then it might, and then it does, and all those sorts of things are just so exciting. In terms of broadcasting, I mean, the Rod Stewart thing springs to mind. Have there been any other moments where live TV has just caught you completely and utterly unawares?
It's so funny. My name at the moment at Sky is synonymous with Rod Stewart. Sir Rod Stewart. SJ, can you get Sir Rod Stewart on? We're like that now. What a charming man he is. We love Rod Stewart.
Just tell that story, though. Just tell that story, because it is brilliant.
For those of you who don't know. So we were doing a phone-in on the NHS, and it was 3 hours of live TV, people calling in, messaging in. We had a panel of experts, and I was in vision for the whole thing. So the camera was never off me. We didn't go to like reports or anything. And every time a caller came in, because it was on the phone, you just had a graphic and then a picture of me. So I had to look, at the camera the entire time. So I'd love to watch it back, because in my ear I got somebody saying, SJ, we might have Sir Rod Stewart for you. There must have been some kind of flicker in my eyes, or like a... And of course, I can't talk to the gallery because I'm too busy interviewing people, but this is coming into my ear. And I just remember thinking, no, this is a hoax. Somebody's rung up by a Rod Stewart impersonator or something and is winding us up. Anyway, in the background, people are checking it out. No, it's the real Sir Rod Stewart. His agent's on the phone. He wants to come on and talk about the NHS. So the next thing I hear, they go, SJ, Sir Rod Stewart's next. So look at camera 6, introduce Sir Rod Stewart. Okay. So the next thing, I was talking to Sir Rod Stewart about the NHS, and, bless him, he was offering free scans to people who couldn't get them on the NHS, utterly charming. But, he was just watching at home, literally playing with his model train set. Have you seen it? No. It's been in all the papers. He's got this vast model train set up, and he's got Sky News on in the corner, and he plays with his model trains and watches my show. Love it. I need to put that on my social media bio, don't I? Rod Stewart, fan
you
of the show.
100% do. You are number one fan.
So it's little things like that. Like, I did not see that coming. And obviously everybody on Sky News just thought it was brilliant. All my colleagues like, Sir Rod Stewart.
It's funny though, because you forget you're in people's living rooms all of the time. You're constant. I remember those moments from Sky Sports News. I remember one time meeting Robbie Williams and him saying, "Oh my God, through some of my darkest days, I'd always have Sky Sports News on, and it would be." I was like, "Is that why?" It would be my shift or whatever. And but you forget that you are sort of. It's not that you're an appointment to view, is it? Or maybe actually you are now an appointment to view. But actually, it's sort of like you're just there.
Yeah, you're there in the background. So, Sky Sports News or Sky News, if you walk past, I often used to walk past estate agents' windows and Sky News was on. People have big screens in there. Every time I walk past an estate agent, Sky News was on. But I remember being somewhere and going, oh my God, everybody, it's Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher's over there. Oh, he's going to walk past us. Oh, it's Noel Gallagher. And he came up and he looked at me and he went, I love you. I can't say what he said, but I effing love you. And I was like, oh my God. And my friend Henry was next to me, Henry, and she squeezed my arm and she went, don't worry, I saw that. And I was like, good, because nobody would ever believe that. Noel Gallagher came up and told me he loved me. And I just said, thank you very much. Oh. So it's moments like that where it's quite surreal, isn't it?
Yeah, because
we went to South Africa, didn't we? And people in South Africa recognised us because Sky News is big in South Africa. And
can we tell the story of why we went? Let's tell the story of why we went to South Africa, because it is hilarious. We were at a charity cricket day, weren't we? We were at a charity cricket day.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think possibly we might have had too many. Whatever they might have been. Fizzy wines. And I think, because when we're in that scenario and there's an auction happening, you know what I'm like. I get very excited and inevitably the hand goes up, right?
And you wave your hands a lot around anyway. You probably weren't even bidding.
I do.
You're just very expressive.
So the moment happened and I heard the word lion. And I thought, oh, yes, we're up for that. Up in the air, straight up. And I think I thought we'd won tickets to the Lion King. And as it turns out, we'd won tickets to a lion sanctuary in South Africa, which was obviously much more expensive.
No, it's even better. It's even better. You misheard it. It wasn't lions. It was tigers, which, as far as I'm aware, aren't even native to South Africa. But there just happens to be this random tiger sanctuary in South Africa. So you got these tickets, but then we had to pay for everything else. Like, we had to buying flights and accommodation.
So it
was a really expensive mistake for both of us.
But then it got worse, right? Because we turn up at the sanctuary and we're the only people there. And we're housed in this property, which is miles from anywhere else, in the middle of the tiger reserve. And do you remember there was that
front door and there was nothing on the horizon?
Oh, yeah. And there was that thunderstorm that night, and it was sheet lightning, and honestly, how terrifying was that? The guys were like, "Bye then, we'll see you in the morning."
And they just drove off into the sunset.
Yeah, drove away, and so then we're stuck.
Friday night of my life.
Oh my God, I remember us actually with our. I'm sure there are tweets from that night that you and I both sent because we were both finding it hilarious that we were underneath our duvet covers.
It wasn't even the big cats we were scared of. Do you remember the rain spiders in South Africa?
The rain spiders.
And we were lying in bed, and on the pillow next to me, I just heard this thud. And I was like, what is that? And turned on the light, and a spider as big as my hand was on the pillow next to me. I slept in the bath that night. I slept in the bath with a duvet over the top of the bath. In this lovely sort of cabin thing, I slept in the bath.
Well, the worst thing in the world that they could have
I've never seen anything like them.
Well, the worst thing in the world they could have done was separate you and I. So we were miles away from each other in these various different bungalows.
That was in the second place we stayed, wasn't it?
That was in the second place we stayed. So first of all, we overcame the tigers in the reserve despite this thunderstorm. But do you remember the night after the thunderstorm, them coming back in and saying that a couple of fences had been knocked out by the power? Do you remember them saying that? I was like, it's like Jurassic
so the big
Park.
Cats could get through.
Oh my God, how
we
terrifying.
survived. Look, we lived to tell the tale.
We did.
Lesson there, do not bid at auctions because it's never what you think it is.
Okay, so
even if you've read the brochure properly.
Which I hadn't. Final question then is... Okay, a performance tip, a performance hack for people who want to live a better life every day with a little bit of an injection of SJ performance styling. What would you tell them to do better?
I mean, I love the fact that you've had like some of the most high performing sports people on this podcast, and you've asked little old me, who's sitting here sort of only just coming round after her first coffee of the day. It takes longer to kick in these days. A performance hack. I mean, I know this is going to sound average to the people that you have on the podcast, but to the people listening who I feel are more like me, I'm not at all elite sporty, is making the time to move, as in exercise. It doesn't even have to be going to the gym, but like I'm trying to get in my 10,000 steps a day just by going for a walk in the morning before I start my day, or going on the exercise bike for half an hour, because I find that if I ring fence that, it only has to be half an hour, you know, 2 or 3 days a week, just not like listening to music or listening to a podcast that isn't related to your job, like something silly. I find that really sets me up, not just for the day, but for the week. And I've really struggled to do that in the last couple of years, what with moving quite far away from my job. So I've got a big commute basically, and I've got 2 children and a husband that's got a very busy job. So I can't always ring fence the time, but I'm really trying to do it now. And I've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 months regularly, and it's made a massive improvement, not just my physical health, but my mental health as well. And I think that was always the first thing to go, because life's so busy. It's like, I haven't got time for that. I've got to get that train, and then I've got to be here. Oh, it's only half an hour. I could squeeze. Oh no, I can't. I'll leave it. I'll do it tomorrow. But I'm now putting it in my diary as an appointment. And like I said, it doesn't have to be full gym kit on. Let's get ready. Let's warm up. It can be, I've got half an hour. I'm going to just go for a walk with my headphones on or whatever. I just find it just clears my head. And it's so simple. And I've heard people say it before, but my tip is just to put it in your diary as an appointment. You're doing it then. It has to be something massive for it to be moved. And yeah, that's really helped me, I think, over the last few months, just to get my head in the game and just be more focused.
Yeah, the only thing that could move it is an interview with Stuart Broad.
I know. And hopefully he'll listen he may listen to this after the interview, but I haven't even got a copy of his book yet. I'm hoping I'll get sent it on email to read it on the train.
You got a speed read.
I mean, I know quite a lot about Stuart Broad anyway, but I should at least read the book before the interview.
Quite so. SJ,
it's a good job I can skim read. That's the beauty of working for Sky News. Just skim read everything. I consume information very quickly.
That and selective hearing.
Yeah.
Thank you, earpods, earpieces.
Earplugs. If you've had earplugs in for this interview, I'll be really insulted. Maybe you should put that as a disclaimer at the start of the podcast.
All right, Trouble. Lovely to catch up. Lots of love. Good luck with Stuart Broad.
So good to see you, GT.